I don't shake hands with the help. Victoria Sterling said it loud. She said it slow. She wanted everyone in that boardroom to hear. Marcus Grant's hand hung in the air for 3 seconds. Then he lowered it. No anger, no shame, just silence. But something shifted behind his eyes. Victoria smiled. Her executives smiled. They thought they had won. They were wrong. The black man in the cheap jacket controlled $4 billion. $4 billion that Victoria Sterling desperately needed. And in exactly 5 minutes, she would watch it walk out her door forever. Drop your city below. Let's see how far this story travels. I don't shake hands with the help. Victoria Sterling's voice cut through the boardroom like a blade. She did not whisper. She did not soften. She let every syllable land exactly where she aimed it. Marcus Grant stood with his hand extended. 5 executives watched from the glass table. One of them laughed. Another checked his phone. A third leaned back with arms crossed and a thin smile. Marcus held his hand there. 1 second, 2, 3. Then he lowered it. Please, Victoria said, gesturing to a chair at the far end of the table, the chair furthest from power. Sit. We don't have much time. Real investors are coming at noon. Marcus sat. He placed a small recorder on the table. What is that? Victoria asked. Documentation. Turn it off. No. The word dropped like a stone into still water. Victoria's smile flickered. Excuse me. I said no. Single-party consent. Legal in Illinois. If anyone at this table says something they wouldn't want recorded, they should choose different words. The heavy executive on Victoria's right, Marcus had already tagged him as CFO, shifted in his seat. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Fine, she said. Record whatever you want. You won't understand any of it anyway. She pressed a remote. A screen descended. Charts appeared. Numbers stacked on numbers. Nexus Innovations, Victoria began, has grown 340% in 3 years. We're not seeking investment. We're allowing it. The difference should be obvious. Marcus watched. He did not take notes. He did not react. Slide after slide. Revenue projections. Market share. Expansion plans. Victoria narrated each one like she was explaining math to a child who couldn't count. Questions, she finally asked. 1. Make it quick. Slide 7. Your R&D expenditure. Victoria clicked back. What about it? You're showing $280 million. Correct. Your SEC filing shows $191 million. Silence. The CFO leaned forward. Those figures account for different... Different what? Marcus asked. Different truth. An $89 million gap isn't flexibility. It's fraud. Victoria laughed. Short, sharp, dismissive. I don't expect someone at your level to understand corporate accounting. Try me. I don't need to try anything, Mr. Grant. I know exactly who I'm speaking to. Do you? The question hung there. Victoria walked to the window. Control move. Power move. She stared out at Chicago like she owned every building in view. My father gave me $50 million and a dream, she said. I turned it into a $3 billion company. I did that by knowing the difference between people who matter and people who don't. She turned. You don't. Marcus made a note in his folder. The scratch of pen on paper sounded loud. One more question, he said. I said 1. Your Indiana facility. Productivity up 34%. Energy consumption down 12%. The CFO went pale. How does a facility produce more while using less power? Marcus continued. Unless the numbers aren't real. Nobody moved. Victoria walked back to the table, slowly. Her heels clicked against the floor like a countdown. "Who sent you?" she asked. "No one." "Which competitor?" "None." "You're lying." "I'm asking questions. That seems to bother you." Victoria placed both hands on the table. Her rings clicked against the glass. "Let me tell you something about how this works," she said. "I have lawyers who will bury you in paperwork for a decade. I have friends on 3 regulatory boards. I have journalists who owe me favors. You walk out of here and start spreading accusations, I will end your career before you reach the elevator." Marcus closed his folder. "Is that a threat, Ms. Sterling?" "It's a promise." He stood. "Where are you going?" the CFO asked. "I have what I need." "For what?" Marcus looked at him. Looked at all of them. 6 men who had smiled when their boss refused to shake a black man's hand. 1 woman who had called him the help. "For my assessment." He walked toward the door. "Mr. Grant." He stopped, did not turn. Victoria's voice came from behind him, dripping with venom. "Whatever report you're planning to file, understand this, you are no one. You have nothing. And by tomorrow, you will be less than nothing." Marcus turned the handle. "One more thing," Victoria said. "That sad little recorder of yours, nobody cares what happens in this room. The word of 7 executives against 1 consultant, you don't exist." Marcus opened the door. "I'll remember you said that," he said. He stepped into the hallway. The door closed behind him. Victoria watched him go. Something cold flickered in her stomach. She crushed it. "Forget him," she said. "Tyler, get Henderson Capital on the line. Make sure they're confirmed for noon." Tyler nodded and reached for the phone. Victoria smoothed her jacket. She had handled worse than Marcus Grant. She had survived boardroom coups. She had buried 3 competitors. She had fired her own brother when he became a liability. 1 consultant meant nothing. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. A news alert. "Breaking Nexus Innovations, CEO, faces discrimination claims after audio leak." Victoria stared at the headline. Her hand began to shake. "What the hell is this?" Her phone buzzed again, and again, and again. Tyler looked up from his desk. His face had gone white. "Ms. Sterling, there's a recording online. It's from this morning. It's you." Victoria grabbed the edge of the table. "That's impossible. He just left. He was just here. It's been 5 minutes." Tyler turned his screen toward her. A audio player, a waveform, a play button. He pressed it. Victoria's own voice filled the room. "I don't shake hands with the help." The words echoed off the glass walls. Every executive heard them. Every executive looked away. Victoria's phone exploded with calls. Board members, journalists, lawyers. The SEC tip line had already received an anonymous complaint. She grabbed Tyler's arm. "Find him," she said. "Find out who he is. Find out everything." Tyler typed frantically. "Marcus Grant, independent consultant. No firm affiliation." "Wait." He stopped. "What?" Victoria demanded. Tyler looked up. His face had gone from white to gray. "There's no Marcus Grant registered as a consultant anywhere in Illinois." "Then who the hell was he?" Tyler kept scrolling. His hands trembled. "There's a Marcus Grant who runs a fund called Grant Horizon Capital, manages $58 billion. Former Marine, Princeton, Wharton. Advisory role with the Federal Reserve." Victoria's blood went cold. "He's not a consultant," Tyler said. He's the lead investor. He was Henderson Capital. He was the $4 billion. Victoria looked at the door Marcus had walked through. She looked at her phone, still exploding with notifications. She looked at the stock ticker in the corner of the screen. Nexus Innovations, down 12%, and falling. She had called him the help. She had refused to shake his hand. And now he had walked out with $4 billion and left a bomb behind. 6 blocks away, Marcus Grant walked into a building with no name on the directory. The elevator took him to the 41st floor. David Chen was waiting. "It's everywhere," David said. 17 journalists, 12 civil rights organizations, 29 institutional investors, the SEC tip line. Marcus nodded. The stock? Down 15% and dropping. Trading volume just tripled. Marcus walked to the window. Chicago stretched out below him. Same city Victoria Sterling thought she owned. His phone buzzed. A text from his daughter, Amara. "Did you show them who you are, Daddy?" He typed back. "Not yet, baby. Just getting started." David handed him a coffee. "You know she's going to fight," David said. "Lawyers, PR firms, counter-narratives. She'll say you entrapped her." "I recorded a conversation I was part of. That's documentation, not entrapment." "Her lawyers won't see it that way." "Her lawyers won't matter. The numbers don't lie. The SEC filing discrepancies. The Indiana facility. The productivity fraud." Marcus sipped his coffee. "She didn't just insult me, David. She's running a company built on false data. That's not personal. That's crime." David sat on the edge of his desk. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "When she said that, when she refused to shake your hand, what did you feel?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He thought about Denise, his wife. Gone 3 years now. The way she used to hold his face in her hands and say, "You're going to change the world, baby. One room at a time." He thought about Amara, 12 years old, already asking why some people looked at her different than other kids. He thought about every door that closed in his face. Every meeting where he was the only black man. Every handshake that came with hesitation. Every smile that didn't reach the eyes. "I felt tired," he said. "Tired of watching people like her confuse inheritance with merit. Tired of being small so they can feel big." He set down his coffee. "But mostly I felt ready." "Ready for what?" Marcus looked at the skyline. "To show them what happens when they underestimate the wrong person." His phone buzzed again. Another news alert. Nexus CEO Victoria Sterling, called Black Investor, The Help, now faces 4B walkout and SEC investigation. Marcus read it twice. Then he put on his jacket and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" David asked. "Home. My daughter has a school play tonight. I'm not missing it." "That's it. The biggest financial story of the year, and you're going to a school play?" Marcus stopped at the door. "David, that woman in there thought I was nobody because I wore a cheap jacket and didn't arrive with an entourage. She measured my worth by my watch. She decided I didn't matter before I said a single word." He opened the door. "My daughter matters. Her play matters. Victoria Sterling will still be falling apart tomorrow. But tonight, my baby girl is going to look out from that stage and she's going to see her father in the front row. That's what matters." He stepped into the hallway. "And David." "Yeah. Phase 3 starts in the morning. Make sure the framework is ready. We're not just taking her company down. We're building something that makes sure no one gets treated like that again." The elevator doors closed. Marcus checked his watch. The same $80 watch he bought the week Amara was born. Time enough to get home. Time enough to change into something comfortable. Time enough to sit in a plastic chair in a school auditorium and watch his daughter shine. Victoria Sterling thought power meant crushing people beneath you. Marcus Grant knew better. Real power was building something that would last long after the headlines faded. And he was just getting started. The school auditorium smelled like old wood and fresh paint. Marcus found a seat in the 3rd row center aisle. Parents filled the chairs around him. Fathers in work clothes. Mothers with phones ready to record. Grandparents who had driven an hour to watch a 12-year-old say 3 lines in a play about the American Revolution. Marcus turned off his phone. Whatever was happening at Nexus Innovations could wait. Whatever Victoria Sterling was doing to save herself could wait. Tonight belonged to Amara. The lights dimmed. A teacher walked on stage and welcomed everyone. The curtain rose. And there she was. Amara Grant. 12 years old, wearing a colonial dress 2 sizes too big. Her hair pulled back in a bun that was already coming loose. Her eyes scanning the audience until they found her father. She smiled. Marcus smiled back. She had one scene. She played a blacksmith's daughter who delivered a message to George Washington. 8 lines. She had practiced them 100 times in the kitchen while Marcus made dinner. When her moment came, she walked to center stage. Her voice trembled on the first line, but by the second, she found her footing. By the fourth, she was commanding the room. Marcus watched his daughter become someone else for 90 seconds, confident, brave, unafraid. When she finished, she looked at him again. He nodded once. She beamed. The play continued. Marcus barely registered the rest. He was thinking about Denise. How proud she would have been. How she used to say that Amara had her father's stubbornness and her mother's heart. 3 years gone. Cancer that came fast and left nothing but photographs and a hole that never closed. After the curtain call, parents crowded the lobby. Marcus waited near the exit. Amara pushed through the crowd and threw her arms around him. "Did you see me, Daddy? I saw you, baby. You were incredible." "I almost forgot my 3rd line." "Nobody noticed. You recovered like a pro." She pulled back and looked at his face. 12 years old, but she could read him like a book. "Something happened today," she said. "I can tell. We'll talk about it at home." Bad something or good something? Marcus thought about Victoria Sterling's face when she realized who he was. He thought about the stock price falling. He thought about the SEC complaint and the 17 journalists and the $4 billion that would never reach her hands. "Good something," he said. "I think." They walked to the car. Amara talked the whole way about her costume and the boy who forgot his lines and the teacher who cried during the finale. Marcus listened. He asked questions. He laughed at the right moments, but part of his mind was already on tomorrow. Phase 3. The framework. The part that mattered more than revenge. At home, Amara changed into pajamas and sat at the kitchen table while Marcus made grilled cheese. Their tradition. After every school event, grilled cheese and conversation. "Daddy, yeah, baby. Why do some people think they're better than other people?" Marcus flipped the sandwich. The butter sizzled. "That's a big question." "I heard some kids talking today. They said their parents have more money than other parents, so they're more important." She picked at the edge of the table. "That's not true, right?" Marcus set the sandwich on a plate and brought it to her. He sat across from her and folded his hands. "Listen to me, Amara. Money doesn't make anyone more important. Power doesn't make anyone more valuable. Some people forget that. They spend so much time counting what they have that they forget to count what they are." What does that mean? It means the measure of a person isn't their bank account. It's how they treat people who can't do anything for them. It's what they do when nobody's watching. It's whether they keep their word when keeping it costs them something. Amara bit into her sandwich, chewed, thought, "Is that what happened today? Someone treated you like you weren't important." Marcus looked at his daughter. So young, so sharp. "Yes," he said. "Someone made assumptions about me based on how I looked. They didn't bother to learn who I was. They just decided I didn't matter." "What did you do?" "I showed them they were wrong." "How?" Marcus smiled. "By being prepared. By staying calm. By letting the truth do the work." Amara finished her sandwich. She wiped her hands on a napkin and looked at him with eyes that reminded him so much of Denise it hurt. "I'm proud of you, Daddy." "I'm proud of you too, baby. Now go to bed. School tomorrow." She hugged him and disappeared down the hallway. Marcus sat alone in the kitchen for a long time. The house was quiet. The clock on the wall ticked. His phone sat on the counter still off. He turned it on. 43 missed calls. 89 text messages. 47 emails. He scrolled through the headlines. Nexus CEO's help comment sparks national outrage. Black investor pulls $4 billion after boardroom humiliation. Victoria Sterling, from tech darling to PR nightmare in one morning. He read one article, then another. Then he put the phone down. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Tonight, he was just a father who watched his daughter shine. He turned off the lights and went to bed. The morning came fast. Marcus was in the office by 6. David Chen was already there along with Rachel Torres and 3 other analysts. Coffee cups covered the conference table. Screens showed data streams, news feeds, stock charts. "Give me the update," Marcus said. David handed him a tablet. Stock closed down 31% yesterday. Pre-market trading shows another 8% drop. Board called an emergency session for 9 o'clock. 2 major shareholders have already announced they're divesting. Victoria. Still CEO, for now. Our sources say the board is split. Half want to fire her immediately. Half want to wait and manage the optics. Rachel spoke up. SEC has opened a preliminary inquiry. They're requesting documents related to the R&D discrepancy. The Indiana facility numbers are also flagged. Marcus nodded. He walked to the window. Chicago was waking up below him. What about her lawyers? Active, David said. They've issued 3 statements calling the recording a selectively edited hit piece designed to damage a successful female CEO. They're trying to make this about gender, not race. Let them try. The audio speaks for itself. Rachel pulled up another screen. They're also threatening to sue you personally. Invasion of privacy, defamation, tortious interference with business relations. Marcus turned. Do we have our response ready? Draft is on your desk. Legal reviewed it last night. We cite the one-party consent law document, the chain of custody for the recording, and note that every statement we've made is factually accurate and supported by public filings. Good. Send it. David hesitated. There's one more thing. What? Victoria's people are digging into your background. They're looking for anything they can use. They've already contacted 2 journalists with a counter-narrative. Reclusive black billionaire with a grudge. Activist investor using race to destroy a legitimate company. They're going to make you the villain. Marcus sat down at the conference table. He picked up his coffee. It was cold. Let them dig, he said. They won't find anything. You sure about that? I'm sure. My life is an open book. Princeton, Wharton, 6 years at Morgan Stanley before I went independent. Every fund I've run has outperformed the market by double digits. Every company I've invested in has improved its practices. I've never been arrested, never been sued, never been accused of anything worse than being too careful. He set down the coffee. Victoria Sterling inherited $50 million and turned it into $3 billion through creative accounting and aggressive PR. I inherited nothing and built $60 billion through hard work and honesty. The comparison isn't close. Rachel smiled. So we go public. Not yet. First we release the framework. David pulled up a document on the main screen. The Grant Standard. A 12-point assessment tool for evaluating corporate culture. Marcus had spent 2 years developing it. Every point was grounded in data. Every metric was measurable. Every test could be applied by any investor from a pension fund manager to a first-time retail buyer. Walk me through the highlights, Marcus said. Rachel took the lead. Point 1, pay equity. We measure the gap between executive compensation and median employee wages. Anything above a 101 ratio gets flagged. Nexus is at 847.1. Point 2. David continued. Promotion patterns. We look at how employees move up within the company. Are advancement rates consistent across demographics, or do certain groups hit ceilings? Nexus has never promoted a black employee above middle management in its entire history. Rachel picked up. Point 3, vendor treatment. How does the company interact with suppliers and contractors? Are payments made on time? Are disputes handled fairly? Nexus has a reputation for squeezing vendors into bankruptcy and then acquiring their assets. The list went on. 12 points. 12 ways to measure whether a company's culture matched its marketing. "This is the real weapon," Marcus said. "Not the recording, not the headlines. This. Because this changes how people make decisions. This gives every investor a tool to see what companies try to hide." David nodded. "When do we release it?" "Today. Noon. Make it free. Open source. No strings attached." "You sure we could license it? Charge subscription fees. This could be worth—" "I don't want it to be worth anything. I want it to be used. The more people who adopt it, the more companies have to improve. That's the point." Rachel made notes. Media strategy. "Simple. We hold a press conference at 1 o'clock. I explain the framework. I explain why we developed it. I take questions." "You're going public," David said. "After all these years of staying in the background, you're stepping into the spotlight." Marcus looked at the screens, the stock charts, the headlines, the photo of Victoria Sterling that accompanied every article. "I never wanted the spotlight," he said. "But sometimes you have to stand in front of the cameras to show people what's standing behind the curtain." At 8:47 a.m. his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered anyway. "Mr. Grant?" A woman's voice. Professional. Cold. "Please hold for Ms. Sterling." Marcus waited. David and Rachel exchanged glances. Then Victoria's voice came through. "Mr. Grant." She sounded different, controlled but cracked, like ice over thin water. "I think we need to talk." "I'm listening." "Not on the phone, in person, my office, 1 hour." "Why would I do that?" "Because despite what you may think, I'm not a monster. I made a mistake yesterday, a serious one. I'd like the chance to apologize directly and discuss how we might move forward." Marcus let the silence stretch. "Ms. Sterling, you called me the help. You refused to shake my hand. You threatened to destroy my career. And now you want to meet? I want to understand what it would take to make this right. You can't buy your way out of this. I'm not trying to buy anything. I'm trying to fix something. Please." The please sounded like it cost her something. Marcus almost respected that. 1 hour, he said. "Your office. But I'm bringing my team, and my recorder." "Fine." She hung up. David was already shaking his head. "It's a trap. She wants to control the narrative, get you on camera apologizing or accepting something that looks like a settlement." "Probably." "So why go?" Marcus stood. "Because I want to see her face when she realizes this isn't about her. It never was." Rachel frowned. "What do you mean?" "Victoria Sterling thinks this is personal. She thinks I'm doing this because she insulted me. She's wrong. I'm doing this because there are 1,000 Victoria Sterlings running companies across this country, and every single one of them treats people like me, people who don't look rich, don't sound rich, don't carry the right credentials, like we don't exist." He grabbed his jacket. "This meeting isn't about getting an apology. It's about showing her that the rules are changing, and she can either change with them or get left behind." They arrived at Nexus headquarters at 9:52, the same lobby where Marcus had waited for an hour yesterday, the same receptionist who had made him sit in plastic chairs. This time she stood when he walked in. "Mr. Grant, Ms. Sterling is expecting you. Please follow me." No wait, no security circling, no dismissive glances. Funny what a few headlines could do. The elevator ride was silent. David and Rachel flanked him. They stepped out on the 47th floor. The same hallway, the same boardroom door. Victoria Sterling stood inside. Alone. No executives, no lawyers. Just her. She looked smaller than yesterday. Or maybe Marcus was just seeing her differently. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Please sit." They sat. Marcus placed his recorder on the table. Victoria looked at it but said nothing. "You wanted to talk," Marcus said. "Talk." Victoria folded her hands. Her nails were perfect, but Marcus noticed a chip on one finger. Stress, distraction, signs of a world coming apart. "I've spent the last 18 hours trying to understand how I ended up here," she said. "I've read every article. I've listened to that recording a dozen times. I've heard my own voice say things that I—" She stopped, swallowed. "Things that I'm ashamed of." Marcus waited. "I grew up in a world where power was everything," Victoria continued. "My father taught me that weakness was death. That if you didn't dominate every room, you would be dominated. I internalized that. I became what he wanted me to be. And yesterday, when you walked into this room, I saw a black man in a cheap jacket." "Yes." She didn't flinch. "I saw someone I could dismiss, someone who didn't matter. And I treated you accordingly." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to understand that I know what I did was wrong. Not because it's costing me money, not because my board is about to fire me, because I saw myself in that recording and I didn't recognize the person I've become." Marcus leaned forward. "Ms. Sterling, I appreciate the candor. But let me be clear about something. This isn't about you and me. This isn't about a handshake. This is about the $89 million discrepancy in your SEC filings. This is about the fraudulent productivity numbers at your Indiana facility. This is about a company that has systematically deceived its investors while its CEO was too busy feeling superior to notice." Victoria's face tightened. "Those are accounting decisions made by my team. I didn't—" "You're the CEO. You signed the filings. You're responsible." "I can fix it. I can hire new auditors. I can restate the numbers. I can—" "You can do whatever you want, but it won't change what I'm about to do." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "And what is that?" Marcus stood. He buttoned his jacket. "At noon today, my firm is releasing a comprehensive assessment framework for evaluating corporate culture. It's called the Grant Standard. Every investor in America will be able to use it to see exactly how companies like yours operate. Not just the numbers, the values. Not just the profits, the people." Victoria stood too. "You're trying to destroy me. I'm trying to change the game. You're just the example. I could have been your partner. I could have made you richer than you already are. I don't need to be richer. I need to be right." He walked toward the door. David and Rachel followed. "Mr. Grant—" He stopped. Victoria's voice was quiet now, almost human. "What would it take to make this stop? To make us even?" Marcus turned. "Ms. Sterling, you asked me yesterday if I understood the complexity you handle. Let me tell you what I understand. I understand that you inherited $50 million and thought you built an empire. I understand that you've never had to wait in a lobby because someone decided you didn't look important enough. I understand that you've spent your entire career surrounded by people who tell you yes, and you've forgotten what it feels like to hear no." He opened the door. "There is no making this even. There's only making it different. For the next person. For every person who walks into a room like this and gets treated like they don't matter." He stepped into the hallway. "That's what this is about. And that's why it won't stop." The door closed behind him. In the elevator, Rachel let out a breath. "That was intense," David finished. Marcus said nothing. He was thinking about Amara, about the question she had asked last night. Why do some people think they're better than other people? He didn't have a perfect answer, but he was trying to build one. At noon, Grant Horizon Capital released the Grant Standard to the public. By 12:15, it had been downloaded 40,000 times. By 12:30, it was trending on 3 platforms. By 1:00, when Marcus stepped in front of the cameras for his press conference, every major financial outlet in the country was watching. He kept his remarks short. Every investor deserves to know not just what a company earns, but how it earns it. Every employee deserves to work for a company that values them as people, not just as labor. Every community deserves businesses that treat ethics as seriously as they treat earnings. He paused. The grant standard isn't about punishing bad companies. It's about rewarding good ones. It's about giving capital a conscience. Questions came fast. About Victoria Sterling. About the $4 billion. About his own history. Marcus answered each one directly. No spin, no deflection. When a reporter asked if this was revenge for being called the help, he shook his head. Revenge is a short game. I'm playing a long one. I want my daughter to grow up in a world where people are judged by their character, not their appearance. I want every child who looks like her to walk into any room and be treated with dignity. That's not revenge. That's hope. The press conference ended. Marcus walked out of the building and into the Chicago afternoon. His phone buzzed. A text from Amara. I saw you on TV, Daddy. You look so serious. Are you okay? He typed back. I'm good, baby. Just trying to make things better. For who? For everyone. She sent a heart emoji. He smiled. Behind him the cameras kept rolling. The headlines kept forming. The world kept turning, and Marcus Grant kept walking. Because the work wasn't done. It was just beginning. The week that followed the press conference felt like standing in the center of a hurricane. Marcus had expected pushback. He had prepared for lawyers and counter-narratives and the full weight of corporate machinery grinding against him. What he had not expected was the silence. Victoria Sterling went dark. No statements. No interviews. No lawyers filing motions. Just silence. David noticed it first. Something's wrong, he said on the fourth day. They were in the conference room reviewing adoption numbers for the grant standard. She's too quiet. Maybe she's regrouping, Rachel offered. Victoria Sterling doesn't regroup. She attacks. She's been silent for 4 days. That means she's planning something big. Marcus looked up from his tablet. What do our sources say? Board meeting tomorrow. Closed session. No press. No observers. They've hired a crisis management firm out of New York. The same one that handled the Enron aftermath. Enron, Marcus repeated. That's not damage control. That's war preparation. Exactly. Marcus set down his tablet. He walked to the window. Chicago was gray today, clouds pressing low against the buildings. She's not going to apologize her way out of this, he said. She's going to fight. Fight how? The only way people like her know how. By making someone else the villain. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Mr. Grant? A man's voice this time. Smooth. Professional. Dangerous. My name is William Cross. I represent Sterling Legal Partners. We've been retained by Nexus Innovations. I'm familiar with your firm, Mr. Cross. Then you know we don't make calls like this unless we're serious. I'm extending a courtesy. We're filing tomorrow morning. Defamation. Tortious interference. Invasion of privacy. Civil conspiracy. On what grounds? On the grounds that you orchestrated a calculated campaign to destroy a publicly traded company using illegally obtained recordings and fraudulent analysis. Marcus laughed. Short. Dry, without humor. The recording was legal, single-party consent in Illinois. I was a party to the conversation. Our experts disagree. The context suggests entrapment. You entered that meeting under false pretenses with the specific intent to provoke damaging statements. I entered that meeting as an investor evaluating a potential acquisition. Your client chose her words. I simply documented them. Courts will decide that. They will. And they'll also decide whether your client's SEC filings constitute fraud, whether her productivity numbers are fabricated, whether she's been misleading shareholders for years. Silence on the other end. Then Cross spoke again, his voice colder now. Mr. Grant, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've taken down men richer than you. I've buried cases that looked airtight. I've turned heroes into villains in the eyes of the public. Don't think for a moment that your money or your reputation will protect you. Is that a threat, Mr. Cross? It's a promise. See you in court. The line went dead. David was watching. How bad? Bad enough. They're filing tomorrow, full assault. Rachel pulled up her laptop. We knew this was coming. Our legal team has responses ready for every angle. This isn't about legal angles, Marcus said. This is about narrative. They're going to paint me as a vindictive billionaire who used race as a weapon to destroy a successful white woman. They're going to make Victoria the victim. Can they really do that? After what she said, people have short memories, Rachel, and good lawyers know how to shape them. He sat down at the table. Call the team. Full meeting in 1 hour. We need to get ahead of this. The meeting lasted 3 hours. Legal strategies, media responses, contingency plans for every scenario. By the end, Marcus had a headache and a decision to make. We can play defense, David said, or we can go on offense. Your call. Marcus thought about Victoria Sterling. He thought about her lawyers. He thought about the machine that was spinning up to destroy everything he had built. Then he thought about Amara, about the question she kept asking. Offense, he said, but not the way they expect. What do you mean? They want a war of lawyers and press releases. We're going to give them something else. We're going to give them the truth. Rachel frowned. We've already released the recording. We've already released the framework. What else is there? The full picture. Not just what Victoria said in that boardroom. Everything. The SEC discrepancies. The Indiana fraud. The pattern of behavior going back years. He looked at David. How deep does our research go? Deep. We've been building a file on Nexus for 6 months. Financial irregularities, employee complaints, vendor disputes. It's comprehensive. Make it public. All of it. All of it. Every document. Every analysis. Every piece of evidence we have. Put it on a website. Make it searchable. Let journalists and regulators and investors see exactly what Victoria Sterling has been doing. Rachel leaned forward. That's aggressive. It could be seen as a vendetta. It's transparency. There's a difference. If the evidence is real, and it is, then the public has a right to see it. Let them decide who the villain is. David nodded slowly. When? Tomorrow morning. Before they file. Before they control the narrative. The team dispersed. Marcus stayed behind alone in the conference room. His phone buzzed. Amara. Daddy, when are you coming home? Soon, baby. I have some work to finish. You've been working a lot. I know, I'm sorry. It's okay. I just miss you. Marcus closed his eyes. The weight of the last week pressed down on his shoulders. I miss you too, Amara. How about this tomorrow night, you and me, pizza and a movie, whatever you want. Even the scary one. Even the scary one. Promise? Promise. Okay, Daddy, I love you. I love you too, baby, more than anything. He hung up. He sat in the silence for a long time. Then he got back to work. The documents went live at 6:00 a.m. the next morning. A website called nexustruth.org. Clean design, simple navigation, and 847 pages of evidence showing exactly how Victoria Sterling had built her empire on lies. By 7:00 a.m., the site had crashed twice from traffic. By 8:00 a.m., 3 major newspapers had published stories based on the documents. By 9:00 a.m., the SEC had announced it was expanding its investigation. At 9:15 a.m., William Cross filed his lawsuits anyway. Marcus read the complaint in his office. 47 pages of accusations. Defamation. Conspiracy. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. They were asking for $500 million in damages. His phone rang. A number he recognized this time. James Morrison, his lead attorney. They filed, James said. I know, I'm reading it now. It's aggressive. They're trying to bury you in discovery. Depositions document requests, interrogatories. They want to make this so expensive and time-consuming that you'll settle just to make it stop. I'm not settling. I know. But you need to understand what you're walking into. This is going to take years. It's going to cost millions. And it's going to put every aspect of your life under a microscope. I've got nothing to hide. Everyone has something, Marcus. Something they'd rather not explain in a courtroom. Something that looks bad out of context. They'll find it and they'll use it. Marcus thought about Denise, about the last months of her life, about the medical bills that nearly broke him before the fund took off, about the desperate loan he took from a man he didn't trust because he couldn't let his wife die without fighting. Let them look, he said. I'll take my chances with the truth. James sighed. All right, we'll file our response by end of week. In the meantime, keep a low profile. No interviews, no statements. Let the evidence speak. Understood. He hung up. David was standing in the doorway. There's something else, David said. What? Amara's school called. There were some incidents today. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What kind of incidents? Some kid said things about you, about the news. The principal wants to talk. Marcus was in his car within 5 minutes. He arrived at Lincoln Middle School just before lunch. The principal, a woman named Dr. Patricia Webb, met him in the front office. Her face was carefully neutral. Mr. Grant, thank you for coming so quickly. Where's Amara? She's in the counselor's office. She's not hurt. Not physically. What happened? Dr. Webb led him down a hallway. Some of the students have been following the news. This morning during first period, 3 boys cornered Amara near her locker. They said, things. What things? Dr. Webb hesitated. They called her father a race baiter. They said you were destroying innocent people for money. One of them said, she stopped. Said what? That you were the reason their dad lost his job. The boy's father works at Nexus, in the Indiana facility. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. What did Amara do? She pushed one of them. Then she ran to the bathroom and locked herself in a stall. She's been with the counselor ever since. They reached a door marked Student Services. Dr. Webb knocked twice and opened it. Amara sat in a plastic chair, her backpack clutched to her chest. Her eyes were red. When she saw Marcus, her face crumpled. Daddy? He crossed the room in 3 steps and pulled her into his arms. I'm here, baby. I'm here. She cried against his chest. He held her and let her cry. The counselor quietly stepped out. Dr. Webb followed. When Amara's sobs finally slowed, Marcus pulled back and looked at her face. Tell me what happened. They said you were a bad person. They said you were hurting people. They said... Her voice broke. They said you only care about money, and you don't care who you hurt to get it. That's not true, Amara. I know. I told them that. I told them you were trying to help people. But they wouldn't listen. They just kept saying awful things. And everyone was watching. And nobody helped me. She wiped her eyes. Why do they hate you, Daddy? Marcus knelt so he was at her level. Some people are scared, he said. When you shine a light on things they want to keep hidden, they get scared. And scared people lash out. They try to make you the villain so they don't have to look at themselves. But it's not fair. No, it's not. The boy said his dad might lose their house. Because of what you did. Marcus felt the weight of those words. The father in Indiana. The one whose job was built on fraudulent numbers. The one who might be innocent of everything except working for the wrong company. Amara, listen to me. What Victoria Sterling's company did was wrong. They lied to people. They cheated people. That's not okay. But you're right, some innocent people might get hurt too. That's the hardest part of doing the right thing. Sometimes it costs more than you expect. Then why do it? Marcus took a breath. Because if nobody does it, the lying never stops. And the people who get hurt the most are the ones who can't fight back. The workers who lose their jobs when the company collapses anyway. The investors who lose their savings. The communities that get abandoned when the truth finally comes out. He took her hands. I'm not doing this because it's easy. I'm doing this because it's right. And I need you to understand, I would never do anything to hurt you. You are the most important thing in my life. More important than the company. More important than everything. She looked at him with those eyes so like her mother's. I believe you, Daddy. He hugged her again, held her tight. Let's go home, he said. They walked out of the school together. Marcus kept his arm around her shoulders. In the parking lot, he saw a woman standing near his car. Blonde, expensive coat, familiar face. Victoria Sterling. Marcus stopped. He pulled Amara closer. Go wait in the car, baby. Who is that? Just go. I'll be right there. Amara looked at Victoria, looked at her father. Then she walked to the car and got in. Marcus approached Victoria. She looked different, smaller, tired. The perfect armor from the boardroom was gone. You have some nerve, Marcus said. Coming here, to my daughter's school. I didn't come for her, I came for you. How did you even know I was here? I didn't. I went to your office. Your assistant said there was an emergency at the school. I took a chance. You followed me. I needed to talk to you. Away from lawyers, away from cameras, just us. Marcus looked at his car. Amara was watching through the window. You have 30 seconds. Victoria took a breath. I'm going to lose everything. The company. My reputation. Maybe my freedom if the SEC decides to prosecute. I know that. I've accepted it. Good. But before it all ends, I needed to tell you something. What? You were right. Marcus waited. Not about the fraud. Well, yes, about the fraud. But about something else. About what you said in that boardroom. About people like me confusing inheritance with merit. I've spent my whole life believing I earned what I have, that I was special, that the people beneath me deserved to be there. She looked at the ground. I was wrong. Why are you telling me this? Because I sat with my lawyers yesterday and they laid out the plan. Make you the villain. Turn this into a race war. Destroy you the way you're destroying me. She looked up. I told them no. Marcus felt something shift. You told them no. I told them I was done fighting, done lying, done pretending I'm something I'm not. She reached into her coat and pulled out an envelope. This is my resignation letter. I'm giving it to the board tomorrow. I'm also giving them a full confession. Every discrepancy, every lie, everything. Why? Because I have a daughter too. The words hung in the air. She's 19. Victoria continued. We don't speak. Haven't in 2 years. She told me once that she was ashamed to have my name. I thought she was being dramatic. I thought she'd grow out of it. Her voice cracked. She was right. She saw what I was before I did. She held out the envelope. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to drop the lawsuits or the investigation. I'm just asking you to know that I understand now. What I did to you. What I've done to so many people. I understand. Marcus looked at the envelope. He did not take it. Your confession won't undo the damage. I know. People lost money, lost jobs, lost trust. I know. And what you said to me in that boardroom that stays with me. Every time my daughter asks why people hate her father, I'll think of you. Victoria flinched, but she didn't look away. I'm sorry, she said. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. He thought about Denise. about what she would say if she were here, about the grace she carried, even when people didn't deserve it. He thought about Amara, about the boys who called her father a race baiter, about the fear in their eyes that came from their parents' fear. He thought about all the people who would be hurt when Nexus collapsed, the innocent ones, the ones who were just trying to do their jobs and feed their families. "Your apology doesn't mean anything to me," he said finally. "But your confession might mean something to the people you hurt. If you're serious about this, if you're really going to tell the truth, then don't do it for me. Do it for them." Victoria nodded. Tears slid down her cheeks, but she didn't wipe them away. "I will." She turned and walked away. Her heels clicked against the pavement. She got into a black car and drove off without looking back. Marcus stood in the parking lot for a long time. Then he got in his car. Amara was watching him. Who was that lady daddy? Someone who made a lot of mistakes. Is she going to hurt us? Marcus started the engine. No, baby. She's not going to hurt anyone anymore. They drove home in silence. Marcus kept his eyes on the road, but his mind was somewhere else. He had wanted justice. He had wanted accountability. He had wanted to change a system that rewarded people like Victoria Sterling while punishing people like him. But he hadn't expected this. He hadn't expected to feel anything but satisfaction when his enemy fell. Instead, he felt tired and sad, and something else he couldn't name. At home, Amara went to her room to do homework. Marcus sat in the kitchen alone. His phone buzzed. "David, you see the news?" "No." "What happened?" "Victoria Sterling just posted a video. It's everywhere." Marcus opened his laptop, found the video, pressed play. Victoria sat at a desk. No makeup, no perfect lighting, just her face raw and real. "My name is Victoria Sterling," she said, "and I need to tell you the truth." For 12 minutes, she spoke about the fraud, about the lies, about the culture she created, about the people she hurt. And then she said something Marcus didn't expect. 2 days ago, I refused to shake a man's hand because of the color of his skin and the clothes he wore. I called him the help. I treated him like he didn't exist. His name is Marcus Grant, and he is one of the most successful investors in this country. He came to my company in good faith, and I humiliated him." She paused, took a breath. "I was raised to believe that people like me were better, that our money made us superior, that our connections entitled us to respect we didn't earn. I was wrong about all of it." Another pause. Her eyes were wet. "To Marcus Grant, I'm sorry. To everyone at Nexus who trusted me, I'm sorry. To my daughter, who I haven't spoken to in 2 years because I couldn't admit she was right about me, I'm sorry. I'm stepping down. I'm cooperating with every investigation. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to become the person I should have been all along." The video ended. Marcus sat in silence. His phone buzzed again. Text from Rachel. "Video has 4 million views. # Sterling. Confession is trending. Board just announced emergency meeting." Another text. "David. Media is calling for comment. What do we say?" Marcus typed back 3 words. "Nothing. Let it speak." He closed the laptop. He walked to Amara's room. She was sitting on her bed, laptop open, watching the same video. "Daddy," she said. "Is that the lady from the parking lot?" "Yes." "She's crying." "Yes." "Do you feel bad for her?" Marcus sat on the edge of the bed. "I feel complicated things, baby. I'm angry at what she did. I'm glad she's telling the truth. And I'm sad that it took losing everything for her to see who she really was." Amara looked at the screen. Victoria's face was frozen there mid-confession. "Do you think people can change, Daddy?" Marcus thought about the question. Really thought about it. "I think people can choose to change, but choosing isn't the same as doing. It's easy to say you're sorry. It's hard to be different. The real test isn't the apology. It's what comes after. Amara nodded slowly. I hope she changes for real. Why? Because everyone deserves a second chance. You told me that. When I got in trouble for lying about my homework last year, you said the mistake doesn't define you. What you do after defines you. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. His 12-year-old daughter teaching him something he had forgotten. You're right, baby. I did say that. So maybe she'll do better. Maybe she'll be different. Maybe. Amara closed her laptop. Daddy. Yeah. I'm still proud of you. For standing up for what's right. Even when it's hard. Even when people are mean about it. He pulled her into a hug. Thank you, Amara. That means everything to me. Can we still have pizza tonight? He laughed. The first real laugh in days. Yes, baby. We can still have pizza. They ordered from the place on the corner. They watched a movie that was too scary for a 12-year-old, but she loved anyway. They fell asleep on the couch, her head on his shoulder, the TV still glowing in the dark. And for a few hours, Marcus Grant wasn't a billionaire investor. He wasn't a crusader for justice. He wasn't a man in the middle of a war he hadn't asked for. He was just a father. Holding his daughter. Wondering what tomorrow would bring. The morning brought answers. Nexus stock opened down 47%. Trading was halted twice. The board accepted Victoria's resignation. The SEC announced criminal charges were being considered. 3 more executives resigned by noon. The Indiana facility was shut down pending investigation. And in Marcus's inbox, a letter from Victoria Sterling's daughter. Her name was Claire. She was 19. She was studying environmental science at Stanford, and she wanted to meet the man who had finally made her mother tell the truth. Marcus read the letter 3 times. Then he wrote back. Dear Claire, I would be honored to meet you, but not as your mother's enemy. As someone who believes that the children should not pay for the sins of their parents. Let me know when you're in Chicago. Coffee is on me. He sent it. He closed his laptop. He looked out the window at a city that was slowly waking up to a different world. The battle wasn't over. There would be lawsuits and investigations and years of rebuilding. There would be people who hated him and people who praised him and people who would never understand what he was trying to do. But something had shifted. A truth had been told. A confession had been made. And somewhere in California, a 19-year-old girl was reading about her mother's crimes, and maybe, just maybe, finding a way to forgive. Marcus thought about Denise, about what she would say if she could see him now. He could almost hear her voice. You did good, baby. Now do better. He smiled. He would try. 3 weeks after Victoria Sterling's confession, Marcus met Claire Sterling in a coffee shop near the University of Chicago. She had flown in from Stanford the night before. Her email had been brief. I need to understand what happened. I need to understand my mother. Marcus arrived early. He ordered black coffee and sat near the window. He watched people walk by. Normal people with normal lives. People who didn't wake up every morning wondering if today would bring another lawsuit, or another headline, or another threat. At 10:07, a young woman walked in. Blonde hair like her mother. Same sharp cheekbones, but different eyes. Softer. Searching. She spotted him immediately. Mr. Grant. Marcus, please. She sat across from him. She did not order anything. She just looked at him like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Thank you for meeting me, she said. Thank you for reaching out. I wasn't sure you would, after everything. Your mother and I have history. You and I don't. You're not responsible for her choices. Claire nodded slowly. She folded her hands on the table. Her nails were bitten short. Nervous habit. I watched her video 14 times, she said. The confession. I kept waiting for it to feel fake. For the mask to slip. It never did. You think she was sincere? I think she was terrified. I've never seen my mother terrified before. Not even when my father left. Not even when Grandpa died. She paused. You scared her. I didn't mean to scare her. I meant to expose the truth. Same thing in her case. A waitress came by. Claire ordered water. The waitress left. Can I ask you something? Claire said. Anything. Why did you do it? The recording, the documents, the framework, all of it. Was it revenge? Marcus thought about the question. He had been asked it 100 times by journalists and lawyers and strangers on the street. But something about Claire's voice made him want to give a different answer, a truer one. At first I thought it was about justice, he said, about showing people what happens behind closed doors, about proving that the rules apply to everyone, not just the people without power. And now I think it was about my daughter. Claire tilted her head. Your daughter. Amara. She's 12. She asked me once why some people think they're better than other people. I didn't have a good answer, so I decided to build one. A system that holds them accountable. A system that makes the invisible visible. The Grant Standard isn't about punishment, it's about measurement. If you can measure something, you can change it. Claire was quiet for a moment. My mother measured everything, she said. Returns on investment, market share, social capital. She had spreadsheets for her relationships, literally. She ranked her friends by usefulness. That sounds lonely. It was, for everyone around her. She didn't see people. She saw assets and liabilities. Claire's voice cracked slightly. I was a liability, too emotional, too idealistic, too much like my father. Where is your father now? Seattle, remarried, 2 kids. He sends birthday cards. She shrugged. We talk sometimes, not often. Do you blame him for leaving? I used to. Now I understand. Living with her was like living with a hurricane. You can love the power, but eventually you have to run or get destroyed. Marcus sipped his coffee. It had gone cold. Why did you want to meet me, Claire? She looked out the window, looked back. Because you did something no one else could do. You made her see herself, and I've been trying to do that for 19 years. I didn't do it for her. I know. That's why it worked. The waitress brought Claire's water. She took a small sip. She called me, Claire said, after the video. First time in 2 years. What did she say? She said she understood why I left. She said she was sorry for every time she made me feel small. She said she wanted to try again, to be a real mother, whatever that means. What did you say? I said I'd think about it. And I'm still thinking. Marcus nodded. He understood that kind of thinking. The kind that kept you up at night. The kind that had no easy answers. Can I tell you something? He said. Please. My wife died 3 years ago. Cancer. Fast and brutal. Before she went, she made me promise something. What? To raise our daughter with grace. To teach her that people are more than their worst moments. That redemption is possible, even when it's hard. Claire's eyes glistened. Do you believe that? She asked. I try to. Some days it's easier than others. And my mother? Do you think she can be redeemed? Marcus looked at this young woman across from him. So much pain, so much hope, fighting each other inside her. I think redemption isn't something you earn once, he said. It's something you choose every day. Your mother made a choice when she recorded that video. Now she has to make the same choice tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. For how long? Forever. That's how it works. Claire wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. You're not what I expected, she said. What did you expect? Someone angrier. Someone who hated her. I don't hate your mother, Claire. I hate what she represents. The system that created her. The culture that rewarded her worst instincts. But hate the person. He shook his head. That's too exhausting. I don't have the energy. Claire laughed. A small laugh, but real. You sound like my therapist. Good therapist. The best. Stanford has excellent mental health services. I've used them a lot. Marcus smiled. Can I give you some advice? He said. Sure. Whatever you decide about your mother, make the decision for yourself. Not for her. Not for what people might think. For you. Because you're the one who has to live with it. Claire nodded slowly. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for coming. It took courage. Not as much as what you did. Different kinds of courage, both hard. They sat in silence for a moment. Comfortable now. Two strangers who had found unexpected common ground. What happens next? Claire asked. With the company, with the lawsuits, with everything. I don't know. The lawyers are still fighting. The SEC is still investigating. The board is trying to sell off the pieces. It's going to take years to sort out. And you. I keep building. The grant standard is being adopted by pension funds across the country. We're expanding internationally next month. The work continues. Win or lose. Win or lose. Claire stood. She reached out her hand. Thank you for not being what I expected. Marcus shook her hand. Thank you for being more than your mother's daughter. She smiled. A real smile. The first one he had seen from her. Then she walked out into the Chicago morning, and Marcus was alone with his cold coffee and the weight of everything still to come. His phone buzzed. David. We have a problem. Marcus closed his eyes. What now? William Cross, Victoria's lawyer. He's holding a press conference in an hour. Our sources say he's got something new, something big. What kind of something? We don't know yet, but the reporters who got invited are all the aggressive ones, the ones who love a takedown. Marcus stood. He left cash on the table. I'm on my way. He arrived at the office 20 minutes later. David and Rachel were huddled around a screen. The press conference hadn't started yet, but Cross was already at the podium adjusting his microphone with the confidence of a man who knew he was about to draw blood. What do we know? Marcus asked. Nothing concrete, Rachel said. But Cross doesn't bluff. If he's going public, he has something. Something on me. Almost certainly. Marcus sat down. He watched the screen. At exactly noon, Cross began. Thank you all for coming. As you know, my client Victoria Sterling has chosen to cooperate fully with all investigations. She has taken responsibility for her actions, but in the pursuit of truth, we must also examine those who have positioned themselves as moral arbiters. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. Marcus Grant has presented himself as a champion of ethics, a defender of the little guy, a man beyond reproach, but our investigation has uncovered facts that paint a very different picture. Cross held up a document. In 2019, Marcus Grant received a loan of $4.7 million from Chenway International, a firm with documented ties to foreign government interests. This loan was never publicly disclosed. It was made during a period when Grant Horizon Capital was struggling with liquidity issues. The terms of this loan included provisions that some legal experts have characterized as potentially compromising. The room buzzed. Reporters scribbled frantically. Marcus stared at the screen. 2019. The year Denise was dying. The year the medical bills nearly broke him. The year he had been desperate enough to take money from anyone who would give it. We are not accusing Mr. Grant of any crime. Cross continued. We are simply asking questions. Who is Chen Wei? What was the nature of this relationship? And why did Mr. Grant hide it from the public while positioning himself as a paragon of transparency? David muted the screen. Marcus. Marcus didn't respond. Marcus, is this true? He stood. He walked to the window. Chicago spread out below him. The same city that had watched him rise was about to watch him explain the worst decision of his life. Yes, he said finally. It's true. Rachel's face went pale. You took money from a foreign entity, and didn't disclose it. I took money from a man who offered to help when no one else would. Denise was dying. The treatments weren't covered by insurance. I was drowning. Why didn't you tell us? Because I paid it back, every cent, within 18 months, with interest. The relationship ended years ago. But the disclosure? I know. Marcus turned. His face was tired, older than it had been an hour ago. I should have disclosed it. I should have been transparent. I wasn't, and now it's going to be used against me. David ran his hand through his hair. This is bad, Marcus. This is really bad. I know. They're going to say you're a hypocrite. They're going to say you attacked Victoria for the same kind of thing you did yourself. It's not the same thing. It doesn't matter. In the court of public opinion, nuance doesn't exist. You took foreign money. You hid it. That's the story. Marcus sat back down. So, what do we do? Rachel spoke first. We get ahead of it. We hold our own press conference. We explain the circumstances. We show the repayment records. We tell the truth, Marcus said. All of it. David shook his head. Marcus, if you go out there and confirm this, you're giving them exactly what they want. You're validating their attack. And if I deny it, they'll produce the documents anyway, and I'll look like a liar. Which story do you want? The one where I made a mistake and owned it, or the one where I made a mistake and lied about it? Rachel looked at David. David looked at the floor. He's right, Rachel said. The cover-up is always worse than the crime. Marcus picked up his phone. Get me a camera. I'm doing a statement in 1 hour. The statement went live at 2:00 p.m. Marcus sat alone at a desk. No lawyers, no PR team, just him. In 2019, he began, my wife was dying. The cancer treatments we needed were not covered by our insurance. I was facing bankruptcy. I was desperate. And in that desperation, I accepted a loan from Chenway International. I should have disclosed this loan. I didn't. That was a mistake. He paused. I paid back every dollar within 18 months. I have the records. I've submitted them to the SEC. There was no ongoing relationship. There was no compromise of my fund or my investors. But none of that excuses the lack of transparency. I built my reputation on the idea that sunlight is the best disinfectant. I failed to apply that standard to myself. He looked directly into the camera. To my investors, I'm sorry. To my employees, I'm sorry. To everyone who believed in what we were building, I'm sorry. I made a choice in a moment of fear, and I've carried the weight of it ever since. Another pause. Victoria Sterling's lawyers want you to believe this makes me a hypocrite. Maybe it does. But here's the difference. I'm telling you the truth now in my own words without being forced. That's what accountability looks like. Not perfection. Progress. He stood. I'll take questions from the media tomorrow. Today I need to talk to my daughter. Thank you. The screen went black. Amara was waiting for him when he got home. She was sitting at the kitchen table. Her laptop was open. She had watched the statement. Daddy? Marcus sat across from her. He felt more tired than he had ever felt in his life. You saw it. I saw it. Do you understand? Amara looked at him with those eyes that saw everything. Mommy was sick. You needed money. You did what you had to do. I should have told people. I should have been honest. You were scared. That's not an excuse. It's not an excuse, but it's a reason. She reached across the table and took his hand. You told me that mistakes don't define you. What you do after defines you. You fixed it, Daddy. You paid the money back, and now you're telling the truth. Marcus felt his eyes burn. Some people won't see it that way. Some people won't, but I do. That's all that matters to me. Amara smiled. I know. That's why I'm proud of you. He squeezed her hand. How did you get so smart? I learned from Mommy, and from you. They sat there for a long time, father and daughter, holding on to each other while the world outside decided what to think. The next morning, the headlines were split. Half called him a hypocrite. Half called him brave. The investors were split too. Some pulled their money. Others doubled down. The board of Grant Horizon Capital convened an emergency meeting. Marcus offered to resign. They voted unanimously to keep him. "You built this company," David said afterward. "You made one mistake 6 years ago and you fixed it. That doesn't erase everything else. Some people will never forgive me. Some people were never going to forgive you anyway. This just gave them a reason." Rachel handed him a folder. The adoption numbers for the Grant Standard. Marcus opened it. Despite everything, despite the scandal and the press conference and the attacks, the numbers had gone up. Not down. Up. "How is this possible?" he asked. Rachel smiled. "Because you did exactly what you tell companies to do. You were transparent. You took responsibility. You showed people that the standard applies to everyone, including you. That's not hypocrisy. That's integrity." Marcus read the numbers again. 47 pension funds, 12 sovereign wealth organizations, 316 private equity firms, all using the Grant Standard to evaluate their investments. "This is real," he said. "This is real." His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He opened it. "Mr. Grant, my name is James Chen. I'm Chen Wei's son. I know about the loan my father gave you. I know why. And I want you to know my father believed in you. He still does. Whatever the lawyers say, whatever the headlines claim, you were never compromised. You were just a man trying to save his wife. That's not a scandal. That's love. Stay strong." Marcus read it 3 times. Then he put his phone away and got back to work. 3 days later, the SEC announced the results of their investigation into the Chen Wei loan. No violations found. No further action recommended. William Cross held another press conference. This one was shorter. His face was harder. While the SEC has chosen not to pursue charges, questions remain about Mr. Grant's judgment and transparency. We maintain that his moral authority is compromised. We maintain that the attack on Victoria Sterling was motivated by personal animus, not public interest. We maintain... Marcus turned off the screen. "He's not going to stop," David said. "Let him talk. The SEC cleared me. The investors are staying. The framework is spreading. He can talk all he wants." Rachel pulled up another screen. "There's something else. Victoria Sterling requested a meeting, through her lawyer, not Cross, her personal attorney. What does she want?" "She didn't say, but she specifically asked that it be just you and her. No lawyers, no recording, just a conversation." Marcus thought about it. "When?" "Tomorrow, if you're willing." He looked out the window. "Tell her I'll be there." The meeting happened in a neutral location. A conference room in a downtown hotel. No cameras, no witnesses. Just Marcus and Victoria sitting across from each other at an empty table. Victoria looked different, thinner, paler, but something else too. Something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. "Thank you for coming," she said. "You said you wanted to talk." "I wanted to apologize. Again. Properly this time." "You already apologized. On video. In front of millions of people." "That was performance. This is real." She folded her hands on the table. "When I saw your statement about the loan about your wife, I felt something I haven't felt in a long time." "What?" "Shame. Not for what you did. For what I was going to let my lawyers do. Cross wanted to destroy you. He wanted to use your pain against you. And I almost let him." "You didn't stop him." "No. But I stopped paying him, yesterday. He's no longer representing me." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Because I watched a man admit his worst mistake on national television to protect his daughter from finding out another way. And I realized that's what I should have done years ago. With my company. With my family. With Claire." "You talked to Claire." "We had dinner last week, first time in 2 years." Victoria's voice caught. "She told me about meeting you. She told me what you said about redemption being a daily choice. That's what I believe. I'm starting to believe it too. She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. This is everything. Every document, every email, every piece of evidence about fraud at Nexus that hasn't been made public yet. I'm giving it to you. Do whatever you want with it. Marcus looked at the envelope. Why me? Why not the SEC? Because the SEC wants to close cases. You want to change systems. This evidence will help you do that. He took the envelope. He didn't open it. What are you going to do now? He asked. I don't know. Sell what's left. Pay the fines. Try to rebuild some kind of relationship with Claire. Maybe find out who I am when I'm not trying to win. That sounds hard. It is. But it's also the first time in my life I've felt like I'm moving toward something instead of just fighting against everything. She stood. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to be friends. But I wanted you to know what happened in that boardroom, what I said about you. That's not who I want to be anymore. Marcus stood too. Then don't be. He extended his hand. Victoria looked at it, the same hand she had refused to shake 4 weeks ago. She took it. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me. Prove me right. She nodded. She gathered her things. She walked to the door. Mr. Grant? He looked up. Marcus, she corrected herself. Your wife must have been an extraordinary woman. To have raised you. To have loved you. I hope she knows what you've built in her memory. Then she was gone. Marcus stood alone in the conference room. He thought about Denise, about the promise he had made, about grace and redemption and the daily choice to be better. He opened the envelope. Inside were documents that would change everything. Again. But that was for tomorrow. Today he was going home to his daughter. Today he was going to keep his promise. 6 months passed like weather. Some days brought storms. Most brought steady work. The kind of work that doesn't make headlines but changes things anyway. Marcus released Victoria's documents 3 days after their meeting. Not to the press, to the SEC, to the Department of Justice, to every regulatory body that had jurisdiction over corporate fraud in America. The investigation expanded. 3 more executives were indicted. The Indiana facility was permanently closed. Nexus Innovations. What was left of it was sold in pieces to 4 different buyers. The name disappeared from the stock exchange. The logo came down from the building. The empire Victoria Sterling had built on lies became a case study in business schools, a warning, a lesson. Marcus didn't celebrate. He worked. The grant standard spread faster than anyone had predicted. By spring, it was being used by pension funds, managing over $2 trillion in assets. By summer, 3 European governments had incorporated it into their investment guidelines. By fall, the first academic papers were being published, documenting how companies that scored high on the standard outperformed their peers by an average of 14%. David called it a revolution. Rachel called it a movement. Marcus called it a start. We're not done, he said during a team meeting in October. We've built a tool. Now we need to build the infrastructure to support it. Training programs, certification processes, enforcement mechanisms. That's going to take years, Rachel said. Then we'd better get started. The work continued. Late nights, early mornings, conference calls with investors in Tokyo and pension managers in London and regulators in Brussels. Marcus became a name people knew even if they had never seen his face. The man who took down Victoria Sterling. The man who built a standard for ethics. The man who proved that doing good and doing well weren't mutually exclusive. But the name he cared about most was the one that greeted him every evening when he walked through his front door. Daddy. Amara was 13 now, taller, sharper, more like her mother every day. How was school? Boring. Mr. Patterson gave us another essay about the American Revolution. I've written like 6 of them already. What's the topic? Unsung heroes. People who made a difference but didn't get credit. Marcus smiled. Sounds like a good topic. I was thinking about writing about you. He stopped in the middle of taking off his coat. Me? Yeah, you're kind of an unsung hero, right? I mean, everyone knows about the Victoria Sterling thing, but they don't know about all the other stuff. The mentorship program, the scholarships, the companies you've helped turn around. Amara, I'm not... You're humble, I know, but that doesn't mean you're not important. She grabbed her backpack and headed to her room. I'm writing about you whether you like it or not. Deal with it. Marcus watched her go. He thought about Denise, about how proud she would be of the young woman their daughter was becoming. Deal with it, he repeated softly. He dealt with it. Thanksgiving came. Marcus cooked. It was their tradition now, just the two of them, a turkey too big for two people, and enough side dishes to feed a small army. Amara set the table while Marcus checked the oven. Daddy. Yeah. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever think about getting married again? Marcus nearly dropped the pan he was holding. Where did that come from? I don't know. Some of the kids at school have stepmoms, and you've been alone for a long time. I'm not alone. I have you. That's not the same thing. Marcus set the pan down. He turned to face his daughter. Amara, your mother was the love of my life. What we had that doesn't come along twice. But she wouldn't want you to be alone forever. She would want you to be happy. I am happy. Are you? The question hung in the air. Simple. Direct. The way only a 13-year-old could ask it. Marcus thought about his days, the work, the meetings, the constant motion. He thought about his nights, the empty side of the bed, the silence after Amara went to sleep. I'm working on it, he said finally. Amara nodded. She seemed satisfied with that answer. Okay. But if you ever meet someone, I want to approve her first. You'll be the first to know. Promise. Promise. They ate dinner. They watched football. They fell asleep on the couch the way they always did on holidays. And in the quiet of the night, Marcus thought about what Amara had said. About happiness. About being alone. About what Denise would have wanted. He didn't have answers, but he was starting to ask the right questions. December brought snow and a phone call Marcus didn't expect. Mr. Grant, this is Claire Sterling. Claire, how are you? I'm good. Actually, I'm great. That's why I'm calling. What happened? I'm transferring to Northwestern. I want to be closer to my mom. We've been talking every week. It's hard, but it's good. I'm glad to hear that. There's something else. I'm starting a nonprofit for kids of executives who've been caught in corporate scandals. Kids like me who had to figure out how to deal with their parents' mistakes. Marcus sat down. That's ambitious. I know. But I've been thinking about what you said. About redemption being a daily choice. I want to help other people make that choice. Not just the ones who did wrong, the ones who were hurt by it. How can I help? I was hoping you might be an advisor, not financially. Just guidance, your experience. Marcus thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. I'd be honored. Really. Really. He could hear the smile in her voice. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Marcus, thank you. Thank your mother for me. For raising a daughter who wants to heal instead of hurt. I will. She hung up. Marcus looked out the window at the snow falling on Chicago. A year ago he had walked into a boardroom and been called the help. Now Claire Sterling was asking for his guidance. Victoria Sterling was rebuilding her life. The Grant Standard was changing how America invested. Funny how things worked out. His phone buzzed. David. You need to see the news. What now? Just turn it on. Marcus grabbed the remote, flipped to CNN. A newscaster was speaking. In a historic announcement today, the Securities and Exchange Commission has adopted new guidelines requiring publicly traded companies to disclose cultural assessment scores alongside their financial reports. The guidelines, based largely on the Grant Standard developed by investor Marcus Grant, will take effect next fiscal year. Marcus stared at the screen. "Did you know about this?" David asked through the phone. "No, I had no idea." "They're calling it the most significant change to corporate disclosure requirements in 30 years. They're calling it your legacy." Marcus muted the TV. "It's not my legacy. It's everyone's. Everyone who adopted the standard. Everyone who pushed for change. Everyone who refused to accept that profit was the only thing that mattered." Humble as always. Realistic. "Same thing with you." David hung up. Marcus sat in the silence. He thought about Denise again, about the promise he had made. Raise our daughter with grace. He was trying. Show her that people are more than their worst moments. He was learning. Build something that matters. He was doing it. The phone rang again. Unknown number. "Marcus Grant." "Mr. Grant." A woman's voice. Warm. Professional. "This is Dr. Angela Morrison. I'm the Dean of the Business School at Columbia University. I'm calling to invite you to deliver our commencement address in May." Marcus laughed. "Columbia? I went to Princeton." "I know, but your work transcends alma maters. Your message transcends rivalries. We want our graduates to hear from someone who has proven that business can be a force for good, that ethics and profit aren't enemies, that leadership means more than just winning." Marcus looked at the photo on his desk. Denise and Amara, taken 3 months before the diagnosis. Everyone smiling, everyone whole. "I'll do it," he said. "Wonderful. We'll be in touch with the details." She hung up. Marcus picked up the photo. "You'd be proud, baby," he said to the image of his wife. "At least I hope you would." The frame didn't answer, but something in his chest felt lighter. January brought new challenges. A competitor launched a rival standard backed by companies that had scored poorly on the Grant Standard and wanted a friendlier alternative. "They're calling it the Excellence Index," Rachel reported. "It measures things like innovation and market growth. Conspicuously absent labor practices pay equity and cultural health. So it's a PR tool disguised as an assessment framework." "Exactly. And they've got money behind it. Big money." Marcus read the materials. Slick design, corporate sponsors, endorsements from business leaders who had fought the Grant Standard since day one. "Let them compete," he said. "You're not worried. Competition is good. It forces us to be better. If our standard can't survive in a marketplace of ideas, then it doesn't deserve to survive." David shook his head. "You're the only person I know who welcomes attacks." "I don't welcome them. I learn from them. Every criticism is an opportunity to improve. Every competitor is a chance to prove our value. And if they win, then we didn't deserve to. But they didn't win." Over the next 6 months, companies that adopted the Excellence Index saw no improvement in their stock performance. Some actually declined. Meanwhile, companies using the Grant Standard continued to outperform their peers. The data spoke. The market listened. The Excellence Index quietly folded in August. Marcus didn't celebrate. He worked. Spring arrived with cherry blossoms and the Columbia commencement. Marcus flew to New York the night before. He stayed in a modest hotel near campus. He wrote and rewrote his speech until 2 a.m. In the morning, Amara called. "Are you nervous, Daddy?" Terrified. You face down billionaires and SEC investigators and lawyers. This is different. These are young people. They're about to start their lives. What I say might actually matter. Then say what you always say to me." "What's that?" "That the measure of a person isn't what they have. It's what they do when no one's watching. It's who they are when the pressure is on. It's the choice they make when doing right is hard and doing wrong is easy." Marcus smiled. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best. Your mother. And you, Daddy. Both of you. He hung up. He looked at his speech. He crossed out everything and started over. The stadium was packed. Thousands of graduates in caps and gowns. Families in the stands. Faculty on stage. Television cameras recording everything. Marcus walked to the podium. He looked out at the sea of faces. Young. Eager. Uncertain. Just like he had been once. I had a speech prepared, he said. 15 pages. Statistics about corporate ethics. Case studies about market performance. Graphs and charts and all the things business school teaches you to trust. He set the papers aside. I threw it away this morning. Murmurs in the crowd. Because the most important thing I have to say isn't about numbers. It's about choices. He paused. A little over a year ago, I walked into a boardroom in Chicago. I was wearing a modest suit. I was carrying no credentials that anyone could see. I was to the people in that room nobody. A woman looked at my hand when I offered to shake hers. She looked at my clothes. She looked at my face. And she decided in that moment that I didn't matter. She called me the help. Silence in the stadium. She was wrong about me. But more importantly, she was wrong about what power means. She thought power was about who you could dismiss, who you could ignore, who you could make feel small. Real power is something else entirely. He leaned forward. Real power is what you do with your privilege. It's the hand you extend when you don't have to. It's the opportunity you create for someone who looks nothing like you. It's the standard you hold yourself to when no one is checking. In the next 5 years, some of you will become very successful. You'll have money. You'll have influence. You'll walk into rooms where everyone wants your approval. In those moments, remember this: the way you treat the person who can do nothing for you reveals everything about who you really are. He straightened. My wife died 4 years ago. Before she went, she made me promise to raise our daughter with grace, to teach her that redemption is possible, that people are more than their worst moments, that the goal of a life isn't accumulation, it's contribution. I've tried to keep that promise. Some days I've succeeded, some days I've failed, but I've never stopped trying. That's what I want for each of you. Not perfection. Progress. Not certainty. Courage. Not the absence of failure, but the determination to learn from it. He looked out at the graduates. The world you're entering is broken in a lot of ways. You can make it worse. You can ignore the problems and chase the money and tell yourself that ethics is someone else's department. Or you can be different. You can build companies that treat workers with dignity. You can create products that solve real problems. You can measure success not just in profit, but in impact. That's the choice. Every day, every decision, every handshake offered and every hand refused. He stepped back from the podium. Be the person who extends the hand, even when it's not extended to you, especially then. Congratulations, class of 2025. The future is waiting. Make it better than the past. The applause started slowly. Then it built. Then it was thunderous. Marcus walked off stage. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. A young woman caught him near the exit. Graduate, cap askew. Tears on her face. Mr. Grant, my father works in a warehouse. He's never met anyone like you. But I just called him and read him what you said. He told me to tell you thank you for seeing people like him. Marcus took her hand. What's your name? Maria Gonzalez. What are you going to do now, Maria? I'm going to build something that matters, something that would make my father proud. Then you already have everything you need. She smiled. She disappeared into the crowd. Marcus walked out into the May sunshine. New York hummed around him, taxis and people and the endless motion of a city that never stopped. His phone buzzed. Amara. I watched the whole thing online. You made me cry, Daddy. Good tears or bad tears. The best kind. I'm coming home tonight. Pizza. Always. I love you, Amara. I love you too, Daddy. More than anything. He hung up. He stood on the steps of Columbia University and looked out at the city. The same city where a year ago everything had started. The same city that had watched him fight and fail and fight again. He thought about Victoria Sterling. She had written him a letter last month. Short, simple. She had started volunteering at a literacy center. She was rebuilding her relationship with Claire. She was, in her words, learning to be human again. He thought about Claire. Her nonprofit was launching next month. She had already helped 15 families navigate the aftermath of corporate scandals. He thought about David and Rachel and the entire team at Grant Horizon Capital. The late nights, the hard conversations, the shared belief that money could be used for good. He thought about the Grant Standard, adopted by institutions managing over $8 trillion now, changing how the world thought about value. He thought about Amara, 13 years old, fierce and kind and everything Denise had hoped she would be. He thought about Denise. "I kept my promise," he said softly. "I'm still keeping it." A taxi pulled up. Marcus got in. "O'Hare Airport," he said. The driver nodded. The city flowed past the windows. Glass and steel and millions of stories unfolding behind every window. Marcus closed his eyes. A year ago, he had been a man with a mission. Now he was a man with a legacy. Not the buildings or the money or the headlines. Those would fade. The legacy was simpler, harder, more important. A standard that measured what mattered. A daughter who believed in justice. A movement that proved business could have a conscience. And somewhere in heaven, if there was such a place, a woman named Denise was smiling. Because her husband had kept his word. Because her daughter was becoming extraordinary. Because the love they had shared was still changing the world, one choice at a time. The plane took off at 6:47 p.m. Marcus watched Chicago grow in the window as they approached. The lights coming on. The city spreading out like a promise. Amara was waiting at the airport. She had made a sign. Glitter and markers and her terrible handwriting. "Welcome home, Daddy, the world's okayest speaker." He laughed. The first real laugh in weeks. "Okayest. I didn't want you to get a big head." Too late. They walked to the car together. Father and daughter. The lights of Chicago shining around them. "Daddy." "Yeah. Are you done now with all the fighting and the speeches and the changing the world stuff?" Marcus thought about it. "No," he said. "I don't think I'll ever be done." "Good." "Good." Amara looked up at him. "Because someone has to show people how it's done. Someone has to prove that being good and being successful aren't opposites. Someone has to extend the hand even when it gets refused." She squeezed his arm. "I'm glad it's you, Daddy." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. The same feeling he'd had when Denise told him she was pregnant. The same feeling he'd had when he held Amara for the first time. The same feeling he'd had when he realized that life wasn't about what you accumulated, it was about what you left behind. "I'm glad it's me too," he said. They drove home through the Chicago night. The skyline glittered. The future waited. And Marcus Grant, single father, accidental revolutionary keeper of promises, drove toward it with his daughter beside him and his wife's memory in his heart. Some people measured success in dollars. Some people measured it in power. Marcus measured it in the moments that mattered, in the hand extended, in the truth told, in the child who believed that her father was trying to make the world better. That was enough. That was everything. The car turned onto their street. The porch light was on. Home. Marcus parked. Amara jumped out and ran toward the door. He sat for a moment longer, just breathing, just being. A year ago, a woman had refused to shake his hand. Now the world was different. Not perfect, not finished, but different. And tomorrow there would be more work to do, more hands to extend, more standards to uphold, more choices to make. But tonight, there was pizza with his daughter. Tonight, there was home. That was the only victory that mattered. Marcus Grant got out of the car, walked up the path and stepped through the door into the light. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning. But for now, in this moment, it was exactly where it needed to be. And that was enough.